Good morning, everyone. Jonathan here in Bali, Indonesia, having me a nice cup of Bali coffee, otherwise known as mud. I think it's coffee, but I'm not totally sure. But every time I wake up, I have these amazing epiphanies and downloads that come into my brain, and I feel so inspired by these ideas and by these revelations. And I think that what it is that, when you go to sleep, your brain does some cleaning. It cleans itself out, and it has these microglial cells that they call the glial gardeners. And basically, these glial cells go through your brain while you're sleeping, and they clean shop. They clean out the old neural pathways that have not been reinforced from the day before, and they clean out the old synaptic connections that are not being made. And when you're asleep, your brain is cooling down. There's less electricity running through your brain, so your brain actually shrinks. The water cells in your brain shrink, I think, by something like 60%. And so there's all this space that it goes from active to chilling the fuck out. And so when I wake up in the morning, there's this kind of like, yeah, the brain turns on. I'm doing my breath work and my morning practice, my meditation. And there's almost like this firing of inspiration. It's in spirit, right? It's like this spirit, the spirit that is within me is illuminated and activated. And so I wanted to just like share the insight that popped into my mind the last 2 days in a row. This is where I'm at right now in the beautiful grassy fields of rice. And yeah, so the first thing that came to my mind this morning was that the law of mind, repetition is the law of mind. And so they say that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So the importance of repetition and the importance of practice in whatever it is that you are on a path to mastery of. It's so important to remember that like when I wanted to wake up, like when I first had my spiritual awakening, I was living in Hawaii. I got hit by a truck. I went to Alaska, and there was this, like, I started reading The Power of Now, and I never stopped reading it. And it was like, I read that book at least 20 times. I've read that book at least 20 times, and I continue to read it because it's one of the most important foundational pieces of information to any person who's on a spiritual path who wants to wake up. And there's a lot of other books that share similar information in different ways, but I really was impacted by the way that Eckhart was able to describe the waking up process. So thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So the mind is a pattern generating machine. It's constantly generating new types of mind maps, if you will. It's creating these, it's looking for these connections to what you already know in order to gain new insight about the future. It's also the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind, which is the ego, which is also, working to protect you, and it wants to ensure that it wants to ensure your survival. And so it's always, preparing and creating and strategizing and working to help you thrive and survive. And so that's a good thing as well. And then, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. It's like what you get is what you think about, and what you're receiving is what you're being about. So like if you are in a state of gratitude, then you're going to get more experiences that give you more gratitude. But if you're in an experience of scarcity and not enoughness, and a mindset of not having, then you're going to not have more. And this is a conversation of prosperity and abundance consciousness, and realizing that like, you don't need to have a ton of money in order to be prosperous. You know, prosperity is a mindset. Prosperity is a heart set. It's a feeling. It's emotional state. It's prosperity is really a perception of reality. And everywhere you go, you know, you can be in a state of prosperity, or you can be in a state of scarcity and survival mode. And so I know that I have experiences with both mindsets, but either way, it's important to become aware of. And so the law of mind is repetition. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. And so firing and wiring new neural synaptic connections for your future really comes down to, you know, like, where your attention goes, energy flows. And I say these things a lot, but I just want to reinstill these, because where you put your attention and what you're focusing on is what you're giving energy to, in a sense of physical. Like, you could say, oh yeah, like, every day I drink coffee, you know. And then where I put my attention is where I put my energy. So if I need energy in the morning, my attention is going to go straight to coffee. That's kind of a good example. But more so, what I'm saying is that what you talk about, what you eat, what you think about, what you dream about, what you brainstorm about, what you're putting your awareness on constantly as far as what you're researching, that's where you're putting your energy, and that's where you're investing your energy into. And so just keep that in mind moving forward in your manifestation practice. And then there was one other thing that I wanted to share, and it's my revelation from yesterday, and that was that you are the most powerful gravitational field in the universe. And in a sense that, well, first of all, you're connected directly to the source of the most powerful black hole in the universe, which, you know, I don't particularly know if that happens to be our universal center, the center of our Milky Way galaxy, or if there's, like, you know, some, like, super massive black hole that I don't know about that's probably way more, you know, powerful than you, but at the same time you are connected to that supermassive black hole. And the revelation, though, was that, like, the black hole is the most powerful force in the universe. It's the gravitational field that holds everything together, and it's also the gravitational field that holds you together, because you have little black holes in your eyeballs. And people who, you know, like, don't necessarily believe in the magic of the universe, or don't necessarily like to put an identity to God, or any sort of you know, personality, or any sort of, you know, any sort of identity. Ultimately, I say that God is the identity of the universe, pretty much. You know, it's like the name. Whereas the universe itself is like the body. It's like, this is my body, I am Jonathan, you know. And so you are the most powerful gravitational field and force in the world. And don't forget that. Don't forget it. Because the more that you can tap into that energy, the more that you can dance in that level of consciousness, the more the universe is going to dance with you, the more that that God is going to bring just absolutely auspicious, synchronistic moments into your life, synchronicities that are beyond your wildest imagination, instantaneous manifestations. I had one yesterday. Just a total magic. And, you know, I'll end it with that quote from Albert Einstein: there are those who see the world as if everything is a miracle, and there are those who see the world as if nothing is a miracle. So turn on your miracle consciousness. See miracles everywhere you go, and that's what you're going to get more of, because you are